Now, Team Clinton sees an issue, gun control, that was once dangerous for Democrats in national politics as a general election plus now. But more interesting, perhaps in the short term, is how much of a dividing line gun control will be in the heated Democratic race. Remember, the first Democratic debate is next week right here on CNN. Senator Bernie Sanders, a liberal favorite on most issues, is a longtime defender of gun rights, popular in his rural home state of Vermont. Yet listen here to Senator Sanders yesterday at an event in Massachusetts.
What we need to do is bring our people together to stop the shouting, to pass sensible gun control legislation that says clearly guns should not be owned by people who should not have them.
We often talk about maybe Hillary Clinton moving left to deal with the primary dynamics. Is that Senator Sanders moving left from a position where he has often said you have to respect the views of people who live in rural America? Gun control isn't necessarily the answer. Is he responding to pressure there?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's so much talk about, oh, Bernie's so authentic, Bernie's so consistent. He's had these same liberal views for 30 years, but guns is something where he is being put on the spot, because it's always been the sort of asterisk on his liberal record that he did have a very sort of conservative position on guns because of being from Vermont. And now now that it's in the spotlight, he gets squeezed on it, and we see him articulating a sort of a different position.
Is it a chance, an opening for her in the debate?
She has to be tempted. And I know the monitors at CNN, John, will be certainly primed up with the Brady bill vote.
You think they know?
I think they might know that then Congressman Sanders did, in fact, oppose the Brady bill that was signed into law by Bill Clinton. So you can see the opportunity there for Hillary to sort of go after him. It's hard to see her sort of like head-on confronting Bernie, but I do think that she will at least obliquely talk about her consistent record in support of gun safety.
And you've seen some of these other candidates who are trying to make headway in the Democratic primary already tried to make this an issue. Martin O'Malley, his super PAC came out and hitting Bernie on this issue earlier this year. I'm sure you'll see some of those folks who are trying to get to Hillary's left to try to take that support away from Bernie. I'm not sure how successful it will be, given his views on a suite of issues that make him to the left of everybody else.
So a campaign debate, but in terms of policy change, again, you saw the president in the briefing room the other day. He didn't even call on Congress to do anything. He essentially was calling on the American people, saying in the next campaign, you need to pressure Congress to do something in the future. He seems to get that as much as he's in this familiar, horrible place after mass shootings, that his view that more gun controls would help isn't going anywhere during his presidency.
And he knows that, and I think that's why you saw how frustrated he was, because how many times has he had to go up there and give a speech like this and feel like his hands are tied? I mean, he's been able to do a lot with executive orders, and he feels like he's accomplished a lot that was in his agenda, and this is one gaping hole, and he certainly feels that, and it's hard to see how that changes, even if we get through the next election, unless there is a huge turnover in the House and in the Senate. Even if you do elect another Democratic president, as we've seen with President Obama, you can't get that done.
They won't even have the, maybe they will. I just say they won't, but I don't think they will. But maybe they could at least have the conversation about the mental health issues. There should be some bipartisan agreement there, but we'll see. Another issue that could come up in the Democratic debate that came up when the president was answering questions the other day is he was talking about the mumbo jumbo or the, what was the word he used? Half-baked ideas he was hearing from the Republicans on Syria, including proposals for a no-fly zone. Then he was reminded, Hillary Clinton supports a no-fly zone. The president's answer? Well, he tried.
Hillary Clinton is not half-baked in terms of her approach to these problems. She was obviously my Secretary of State. But I also think that there's a difference between running for president and being president.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch. And Senator Sanders, we should note, is with the president. He says no-fly zone would do no good.
That's so Obama, though, isn't it? I mean, Obama's basically given this saying, look, you got to say certain rhetorical things when you're a candidate. We all get that.
You mean like closing Gitmo?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But Obama is so dismissive of those kind of political strokes, rhetorical strokes, and sort of sees his job now differently than being a candidate. But it was fascinating that Sanders wasted no time in siding with Obama.
And this is one of 3 issues now that Hillary has opposed the president on. Not only that, not only Syria, but also Keystone, and also drilling in the Arctic. So she's clearly figuring out her spots to differentiate herself from the president rather than being accused of being a water carrier for him.
He's keeping count. You think the president's keeping count?
I think the president's probably keeping count. And you know, look, this does expose a rift that existed when she was Secretary of State and in the White House, particularly on foreign policy. Hillary Clinton had a sort of a more interventionist view. She wanted to be more aggressive in a number of conflicts, and President Obama was not as comfortable with that. You know, that's a harder thing to deal with when you're both in the White House. But now that she's on the campaign trail and he's in the White House, I think we're starting to see that division emerge.
That's true, but it's also being seen as a weakness for her, right, in the Democratic primary, that she is more hawkish than him,
Right.
because that's not necessarily what Democratic primary voters want to see. But I think on the Syria issue, what you see, and Obama's sort of telling the truth here, right? There's pressure on candidates to have something that they say they would do. It doesn't have to be a plausible thing. It doesn't have to be something that you would actually do if you were president. But you've got to say that there's something that can be done because the situation is such a mess.